Hello, everyone. This is Orwa Godfather, and our topic today will be the power of Recon. To introduce myself, I'm Orwa Atyat from Jordan. My nickname is Orwa Godfather, or just like some friends call me Robin Hood of the beginners. Yeah, I'm a full-time bug bounty hunter. I start bug bounty in 2020, and I moved to full-time bug bounty hunter in the last of 2021. So now I'm ranked on a bug crowd as a third in P1 warrior. I submit more than 500 critical and high bugs. Also for Meta, for Google, for Microsoft, for Apple. And I got some titles from Bug Crowd, such as Hack Cup winner, the team captain, level X champion, and more than 10 0 days and CVEs. Now, I start Bug Bounty without any experience or without any background in the 2020. And in that time, the first people who support me, who collab with me, who work with me, it was Indian people. So from this stage, I wanna thank B-Sides to inviting me. I wanna thank especially Nix and everyone here. So, are you ready? Yeah. Okay, now we are discussed three topics today. The first one, it will be Microsoft IIS testing. And the second one, it will be about response manipulation, bugs and examples. And the last one, it will be excited, it's about methods and some bug bounty tips. So, in general, IIS, we are going to discuss here, I think, Chops, let's talk about it, but from a recon part, not from a technical part. So we are talking about the viability that's Microsoft IIS tilde directory enumeration. What is it? This viability allows to act short names of files and directory in IIS app by using some vectors in several version of Microsoft IIS. Now, as an attacker can find the important file and folders that's normally not visible. As an example, backup files or something like that. Now, the next part will be in IIS, it's how to discover IIS. Tools that require when we're working on IIS. Word list also for fuzzing, testing and tips, and the last part will be some examples for critical bugs on IIS. So, discovering, there is a lot of tips and methods to find IIS app, but I can say the best three, it's first one, it's Nakalai template. There is a specific template to identify the IIS app. The second one, it's from a browser extension, it's called Webalizer. As you can see in the picture, it's sometimes allow you to see the IIS, also the version. The most interesting one, it's from Shodan. From Shodan, there is a HTTP title dork. It's used for IIS. Now, if you want to be specific, now as you can see, the total result of Shodan, it's more than 1 million. So if you want to be specific by searching for, as example, a company name, company that's running a very big scope, so we can add the dork that SSL beside this Ahmedabad INC as an example, and with a HTTP title IIS. Now, if working on a specific domain, we can use this dork that SSL search subject CN besides Ahmedabad.in, and we can add after that the HTTP title IIS. This is the three methods to find IIS. Now we are moving to the next part. Now, the tools that are required for IIS. First thing, there is a extension, and there's a tool for terminal. The extensions for BAB, it's called IIS tilde enumeration. And the tool for terminal, it's called short scan. Now, you can use this tool or this tool. This tool, it's just to deact the short name of files and directories. Now, the second tool, it's jetprimes.peek. Now, this tool, it's to analyze files such as DLL files and export the source from that DLL file. And the next tool, it will be, I think all of you know what that tool. It's a studio code, Visual Studio Code, and it's to read, to review the code and source. FFUF, it's a web directory brute forcer. And the word list, I just uploaded this word list on my GitHub 2 days ago. Now, this word list, I created this word list, we can say, from my previous bugs, from my previous recon. Anything new, I found it, I added to this word list. I keep it updated day by day. So it can be used for vulnerable IIS and non-vulnerable, and for any other web app. Now, the normal testing for IIS, it's by running this command, it's short scan and HTTP or HTTPS and the URL. Or you can do the same on the barb extension. Just we can copy and paste the URL. But now here, we don't test it just on URL. Sometimes we test on the URL itself, and it's non-vulnerable. So we have to run this subdomain or this host or this IP on the word list. Any valid endpoint, such as forbidden and unauthorized access, 301, 200, we can scan this endpoint again on this tool. Now here we have examples, like for running short scan tool, we can run it on the domain, we can run it on a directory endpoint. Now let's come for the fuzzing part. Now we can run the word list normally, and as I told, any valid endpoint, even if forbidden, we can use it. Okay, now in the next part, I will present examples for short names. But now in FFUF, we can also use the example that running FFUF that fuzz after the short name directly. We can also, after short name, add a dash and start fuzzing from there. We can also add a short name, underscore, and fuzzing. We can also add a space. Now here, an example for scanning directly target or IP. Now we have a first directory, and we have the second one, it's ASP.NET. So all the time, forget ASP.NET. This is another example. Here we have I identified a directory. We have also some files, and sometimes if the short name it's valid, it show actual file name or actual directory. So now, as we can see, there is a security without Y. There is a backup, but it's not full, maybe. Let's move to next picture. Here the scanning on a specific endpoint. We got some results for directories, for files. Now let's come for the example of testing. Now, we have here a directory, we have here a file. Now, desktop and it means it's maybe a backup file, maybe a setup file, but we don't know what's after desktop. And we have there a directory, it's called ds_sto. STO, maybe it's shortcut for studio, maybe shortcut for something else. So the first thing we are going to do on directory that's running FFUF for fuzzing after STO. My wordlet is support these words, can complete this. But if not work, there is other tips. We will coming for it. Now let's come for the backup file that I want to complete it now. I know it's a desktop, but what after desktop? So we can start fuzzing after desktop directly. We can add a dash and start fuzzing directly. We can add an underscore, we can add a space, and fuzzing directly. Because it's maybe a desktop underscore backup, or maybe desktop dash setup, as an example. For directory short name, we can also, as you can see, use this dork in GitHub. And it's very helpful that by adding this dork path, DSSTO, and as you can see, we have about 200 results, and we have here a DS store. If not work, we have DS store underscore EXP. So there is a lot of examples here. And also, we can use chat AI, like generate a large word list starting with a DSSTO, and you can see the options we have here to test it for fuzzing. And directly also, don't forget all the time, anything you got like this, add it for your word list. Intruder is important, just in number cases, because sometimes you can find a short name, it's called desktop, or it's backup, or anything else, but it's end with a date, or with a specific number. So here the intruder is very helpful to fuzzing on numbers. Now, examples for some critical bugs that I was able to locate. Now, I found a short name, it's called admin, and the extension of file, zip file. Now, with a previous tips that I talk about, I was able to locate the source backup on admin underscore backup. From that, what I got? First thing, credentials in the source code itself. Second thing, machine key, and that's led directly for RC. Third thing, I was able from the source itself to locate an auth upload endpoint, and from there I uploaded ASBX shell and get the RC. Now here other example. Now from short name I got some directory, it's called QB test. So I fuzzed with this word list, and in the end I got just one valid endpoint. It was called QP test I care. So when I opened this endpoint, it's redirected me for a login. So first thing I started testing in this login, it was a default credentials or wiki credentials, and yes, I get a valid login by using test as a user and password. That was the first P1. The second P1, that also I was able to locate a SQL injection in username parameter as a post request, just by discovering this endpoint. Now, here an example for a DLL file. Now, I got a short name, it's called utility. Now, searching by that and all the method and GitHub, I was able to find the completely file name, and it was utilities. So directly I send it to JetBrains.peak. Then after that, I export the project. Then now I have a source file for this DLL file. After starting review this code, I was able to locate AWS credentials, access key, and secret key. And for sure, there is more and more and more. And as Chops say, this bag, when you see the blue screen, stuck on that screen, it's more important. And also from this stage, I want to thank Chops, because he's give a very, very, very good results and videos about IIS. And in the start, I learned it from his video. And also, yeah, here some references to more for something, yeah, more testing in IIS. Now, response manipulation part. Now, we are now to talk now about some authentication bypass cases by response manipulation and permission like such as edit, add, delete, and prices and currency. Now, as a start, how can we edit in response itself? There is two methods. The first one, it's simply do intercept response this request. The second one, it's from proxy options that intercept responses and now let's start with the examples. Now, in this photo, we have an example for a login panel. In this login panel, when you try to log in by any user or any password, we have a response, it's a 302 found. And we have a header, its location. But the only interesting thing was there that was a huge content legit there. So what I did there that I changed the response from 302 found to 200 OK, and I removed the full header location. And I got a valid login for that panel. So the tip here that if you found a response such as 302 and the content legit was so huge, so here you can start checking for authentication bypass by response manipulation. Also, you can use the same tip on the match and replace by, when you open it, match and replace the type, it's response header, match 302 to replace to 200, and match type response header, match the location, and replace it's empty to delete the header. Here's the other example. It's a post login. We have a username, we have a password. The response, it was 400 bad request, and it's false. Simply, I changed it 400 bad request to 200 OK, and I changed it false to true, and I got a valid login. It was also by response manipulation. And it can be done also by match and replace. Another example, a create account in an employee login panel. Now, directly when I start looking for some panels like an employee panel that there is no any function, just login, no registration, nothing else. I started checking response for everything in this panel, starting by opening that panel. So in some cases, you can find in the response that registration value, it's false. So it's happened a lot when I changed the value from false to true. I have now a new function. I can create account in this employee panel. Now, let's move to permission examples. Now, here we have a normal response. We have here edited or replaced response, such as we have, after getting login to any page, we have a login permission, it's user. Now we can try to change that for admin, to root, to something like that. Or we can see here, it's admin, it's false. We can change it to true. We have a permission in that page. The value it's can read. So we can add other value such as can write, can edit, can delete. There is also an example for status, it's 0. We can change it to 1. And it came the status as a 1, we can change it to 0 or to 2. And there's status, it's failure, we can change it to success. Prices and currency example. Now here we have a normal response. The code, it's USD, it's a currency, and the pasted amount, it's $99. So what we can do, in the first thing, changing the location of numbers. Like here we have 9, 9, 10. We change 9, 9 there and 10 there. Now, the same number, but we add before that number a 0 in the second part. Third part, the same number, but we removed just one. It came just $9 and 10 cents. And the interesting thing, that's when we play in currency, because we know now Indian rupee, it's not like dollar, it's not like euro. Now let's come for the method and tips part. Now, I received a lot of questions for last week about some specific thing that's from people here that ask me to talk about it. So I say, yes, it's okay. So, first question was about what is my method to bypass the WAF? Second question was how can I get more subdomains and more subdomains? And the last one, it's how to discovering more domains, more subdomains, more third parties, more endpoints. So I think everyone here know the old videos that I create and tips about Recon and how to get more domains and endpoints from CRTSH. So everything here, let's say it's new. Okay, now, my method by bypassing the WAF using origin IP via match and replace in burp. Now, the best resources as a start to find the origin IPs, it's Shodan, and we can use this door that assert subject, CN, domain or subdomain. We can use fufa.info. We can use census. We can use security trolls. Okay. Now, in a lot of videos and write-up, I discussed that we can find the origin IPs from Shodan, but it's a live origin IPs. Okay, now we are going to talk about not live origin IPs. Like, if you got as example for this IP, the response it's a bad request or 4044 not found. Okay. Now, as an example here, we have a domain, it's called godfather.orwa.com, and this domain, it's running with a WAF. Okay? So, we look to that domain or that subdomains on the Shodan or any engine. We found here that we have the IP, and we have the subdomains and other subdomains similar, such as this dev test. Okay. Now, how I'm going to mix that with that? Now, as we can see an example now, we have a live subdomains running with WAF and IP for that subdomains, but it's not working. It's bad request. In match and replace, we add the IP that not working to the match. And to the replace, we add the host or subdomains that running with WAF. Now, when you visit the IP, the response now, it's worked, and without WAF. And you have access to the app without WAF. The request example, it will be like this. The host name, it's in the host header, and the IP, it's different here. Now, my method by finding more and more subdomains. Now, I just use AMAS for enumerate subdomains. But the first thing important that's, as I can see a lot, ignore that editing in config of AMAS. Now, when you check config for AMAS, we are speak about a huge of resources. You just have to visit and start added API keys, credentials to get more subdomains. So this is the first thing, that add the API keys and start working on the config file before start using AMAS. So the normal dork and command that I use for get subdomains, this one. But now we have two steps. Step one, it's enumerate the normal subdomains for besides ahmedabad.in. The second part, now we have a subdomains list. We run it again by added a -df, not the dash -d. So now we are enumerate a subdomains for subdomain list. So I checked it 2 or 3 days ago on a normal target. So without add the config API keys, I got just 230 subdomains. So after I edit the config file, I got 259. So now we are speaking on about 30 subdomains. So it's a good number for 200 subdomains. After running the step 2, I got the 300 subdomains, nearly 300. So we talk about 100 subdomains more. My method, or we can say the new method to find more domains, third parties, endpoints. Now, the first thing, it's a URL scan. But now in URL scan, we can use the normal dork or the normal domain. Okay, that's familiar. Okay, what you can do else? We can write the domain dot star to get more other, as an example, we can say beside ahmedabad.corp.com or something like that. We can also add the domain name -star. So maybe as an example, we can get beside this ahmedabad-corp.com, or it's running on a third party such as Okta, such as ServiceNow. Okay, but when we use this dork, we have a lot of duplicates. How to remove that duplicate? By adding dash for the domain that I want to remove it from this list. Like as an example, I want to check for besides Ahmedabad or just besides, and I want to remove this beside ahmedabad.in from my search. So I add dash. And here are other examples also. I can add not just one subdomain or two subdomains. I can add more than domains and subdomains by the same keyword. Here's the example. I want to get some endpoints for tesla.com, but I want to remove this because I got a lot of duplicates for these subdomains. Now, Bing and Google dorking. It's a very similar tip. It's just about remove duplicate. Now, in Bing or in Google, to remove duplicates, we have to add dash site, not dash domain direct. Dash site, we can add anything, and we can remove all the duplicate from search also. And also dorking on Google or in Bing, it's keep updated every day. So it's not one time working. And here other example from Bing browser. Okay, now mixing Fufa and Shodan search engine. Now, the first thing, we have to get all icon hashes from Fufa. So, as an example, we try tesla.com, we have more, and we have all of these icon hashes. So, when you check one by one, we have the hash for that icon. So we can copy that and use it on Fufa and start searching, or we can move to Shodan by using this dork, http://favicon.hash, and we can add here the hash number. And we can get a good result. Now, this same testing or this same tip, it's also very helpful and useful for customers because they can also locate by this way the spam, the phishing hosts. Now, I also add here a URL of videos that for more technical in Shodan, that the video, it was called The Power of Shodan. And I think it was 3 months ago. Now, amazing tool for gathering endpoints. Now, I think we can say mostly for collect endpoints, they use a tool, it's called Wayback URL. Is that right? Okay. Now, Wayback URL, it's just collect a subdomains just from Web Archive. But here we have a tool, it's called Waymore. This tool, it's very similar, but this tool collect a subdomains from these 4 resources from Wayback Machine or Web Archive, from Common Crawler, from Alien Vault, and from URL Scan. And yeah, and on Alien Vault, URLs keep updated daily. Now, here we have that checking endpoints manually, it's more useful. Why? Because when you collect the endpoints for domains, for apps, and you start checking that endpoints manually, you can find an endpoint, it's just like this, not full endpoint. It's ended with a ZI. Okay. So if I send this for, as example, for a ready tools to start checking GS file or to start checking XSS or anything else, I will not get anything valid from this. So when I start checking manually, I can find a lot of results like that. So we have .zi, it's mean I have to complete it to ZIP, and here I have a file to download. Now, maybe I can find endpoint, it's in just by P. So it's maybe a PHP endpoint, and it's maybe PDF file. Other example, it's EX, it's maybe EXE, and it's application. And normally getting endpoints from these resources, if we got EXE application or a zip file backup, we can say mostly it's unauthorized access B. And checking endpoint daily also, as example on Alien Vault. Now, there's an endpoint, it's updated day by day. What's that help? I was able to locate more than account takeover just by founded a leaked URL with the activation token, and from there I got full access to the account. Thank you, and I think I'm done here.